All right, so we're going to record our presentation today so that you are able to reference it in the future. We're also going to be sending out a bunch of materials to you after the training as well. So as we go through this, feel free, if you miss something, it's not that big of a deal. We'll make sure that we get that information to you so you can reference it later on. Okay, so the presentation we're going to do today for you is going to fall into three parts for recruitment. So it's going to be the before, how do we prepare ourselves? How do we get ready for this virtual recruiting? Preparation, as we know from Scouts, we always want to be prepared, and preparation is going to be one of those key parts to this. And the better we are prepared, the more successful we're going to be. We're also going to talk about what you're going to do during your actual recruitment event, what that looks like, what the agenda is going to be, how to make it fun and engaging. And then also we're going to talk about follow-up. And that's in this environment, especially when people are not as engaged in meeting activities. This will be probably one of the more important pieces of the campaign this year, more so than a usual recruitment effort, is making sure we follow up with families. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jose to talk a little bit about preparing for your virtual recruitment.
Thank you, Bill. So preparing for your virtual recruitment. So preparation is one of the most important parts of recruitment, especially this time as we are dealing with this global pandemic. So you got to make sure that you spend a lot of time promoting and preparing for your recruitment. And if you do so, it will pay huge dividends. You will get a lot of people that will come to your event. You will get lots of families, and you'll be able to offer the great scouting opportunity to all these people in your communities.
So this year is unlike any other. I'm sure that you are seeing that on your end as well. And due to COVID-19 pandemic, many of the schools are still kind of working through their plans, but we're starting to see some of that guidance come out from the schools as to what will and won't be allowed this year for outside participation. I know as from what we've seen for Santa Clara County, for example, at this point, they're not going to be allowing any outside groups to really use the facility, and they're still trying to figure out how it's going to look like for kids to go to school just for classes. But they have already stated that there's no outside groups that are going to be allowed to do a program. So it will make it difficult for us to do those kinds of things. So, but we've got a nice opportunity here to go virtually and still be able to make an impact in the community and recruit those kids. So, some of those traditional ways that we've done promotion too might not be available as well. So things like talking with families before and after school probably won't be allowed. Passing out flyers if the kids are, that's been one of our key ways that we promote, is passing out flyers to kids while they're in school. But if they're doing distance learning, they may not have those opportunities available to them. So, so we've got to be creative, right? So we've got to figure out a way that we can still do this virtually and leverage some new opportunities that we can use for promotion.
Great. So what are some of those ways that you can do your promotion of your unit? So what you can do is you can use a video conferencing platform to conduct your recruitments. Now, when doing so, you got to make sure that you utilize a platform that allows you for a chat feature to be able to answer questions and also to provide resources to all the attendees. So let's talk about a few options here. Let's go over some of the benefits of the various platforms. So as you guys can see on your screen, these are some of the more popular platforms. So let's talk about Zoom. Zoom has lots of features. It allows you to be able to conduct people into breakout rooms. It is one platform that many people are familiar with. Another great thing is that it is also free for 40 minutes. So there's no need to pay a subscription for this if you're keeping your meeting to 40 minutes. GoToMeeting is another platform that you can utilize. This is one that's easy for first-timers, so it doesn't, the learning curve is not too bad with this platform. But it does require paid accounts, and the accounts can have the same user login for multiple people. So that's one of the downsides, that it's not free. Another platform is Microsoft Teams. This platform is free, and it's also easy to use. However, not many people are familiar with it. Now, having said that, I have a feeling that things are going to change based on some of the commercials that they have been showing on TV. I'm sure that more and more people will continue to look into Microsoft Teams as a platform to collaborate with others, maybe even at work. And then there's WebEx. So WebEx is probably the platform with the highest level of security. It is a platform made by Cisco Systems, and so it is very safe. And last but not least, we have Facebook Live. Now, Facebook Live allows you to promote to a larger audience. It can also be used in conjunction with Zoom. So, you can use both of these platforms and be able to reach more people. So that is one of the upsides about Facebook Live and using Zoom.
Great. No, thanks, Jose. So let's talk a little bit about some BSA digital guidelines that you're going to want to follow anytime you use one of these virtual meeting spaces. So the first big tip that we have is to use pre-registration, and this will do two things for you. First, it'll allow you to collect information from people that want to attend your event so that you can then follow up with them with online registration tools. And it also gives you an extra level of security so that you can identify who has the login information for your event before it happens. This is important, because you may have all heard of Zoom bombing, and so we're trying to really prevent that kind of activity by using pre-registration. Another point is to make sure that you follow all youth protection policies. These still apply in an online environment. So Zoom does have a feature that you can use breakouts. And so even in those breakout spaces, you want to make sure that you have 2 deep leadership and that you're having that as part of all of your meetings. Now, this usually should be pretty easy to cover on a recruitment environment, but it is important to make sure that you do have that covered. Jose listed off a bunch of platforms, and they all had one thing in common, which is they're more business-oriented platforms. There are other platforms like Discord that other people use to do these kinds of meetings, but we would suggest using a business-oriented platform just because it does include a bunch of those safety abilities like passwords, again, pre-registration, and those kinds of things. You also want to make sure that you use all of those different security features that they may have and utilize the latest updates. So using unique meeting identification numbers for each session is important. Utilizing the password feature for anybody that's going to join. You don't want to post the sign-in information for your meeting publicly. You want to have a way that you can send it to people after they have already shown the willingness that they want to participate. This will again prevent people from doing the dreaded Zoom bombing. Another thing that will help prevent it as well is using the waiting room feature in many of these platforms, which allows you to see who wants to log into the meeting before that you actually allow them to participate. And you also want to disable a bunch of the features that are not needed. So screen sharing by non-hosts, private chats, and whiteboards. In Zoom, there's an annotation tool as well. And you want to really eliminate participants from being able to use those features, because again, it allows you to make sure that you're having an event where you guys get to control the agenda. It's an important point that you do not record any online activities that include youth participants. So even if you do have a recruitment event and you want to then share some of the key information and record it later to post somewhere, if you do have youth participants in your recruitment, you really don't want to post, you really don't want to record that and then post it. It's not allowed. You also want to safeguard personal information as well. So you're going to be collecting a lot of data from pre-registration, things like information for parents and addresses and phone numbers and emails and that sort of stuff. You want to make sure you don't share that more than with people that need to know that information. There are a lot of laws that the government requires for sharing of information. So you really want to try to keep that on a need-to-know basis as much as possible. And then actually collecting information from youth under 13 is not recommended and not allowed. So while you can ask for information from parents about the youth, actually getting that information from the youth themselves is not allowed due to the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA. So make sure that you just collect that information from the parents. So let's talk a little bit about how to promote your virtual recruitment. So there's a couple of key things that we have that you can use to do the promotion. So the first thing is using the QR code and apply now link in your event description. We'll take some time at the end of the session to go through with you what that looks like, how you can find that information in my .scouting, but you want to be able to use that. Again, it's going to drive traffic through Be a Scout, which allows you to collect their information in advance, and also allows you to be able to then follow up with the event information to them to make sure that those that want to attend are the only ones receiving that information. And to make it handy, we have a QR code, which you can then print and post places so that people can get that information or show their interest. Or you can use the Apply Now link as well to share as a clickable link on any of your social media posts that you have. A big piece of what you're going to want to do in a virtual environment is making sure that you engage with families in that virtual space and promote virtually. Facebook is really, really big among the target demographic for those joining the program. So, a lot of the older millennials, which are a lot of those folks that are signing their kids up for scouting, really use Facebook a lot. As a council, we're going to be providing some assistance with Facebook as well. So once you tell us that you're going to be doing a recruitment event, we are going to post a boosted Facebook event for your recruitment event. We will tag your unit, if they have a Facebook page, as a co-host for this event. Once we have the event created, we're then going to boost it and pay for advertising. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to put a virtual fence around a particular location, probably your elementary school, in a circle about 2 miles or so that anybody that travels within that circle that meets certain parameters, like they probably have kids, they're probably interested in achievement programs, they're probably interested in character development for their kids, they're interested in outdoor activities, these kinds of things, will then see it in their Facebook feed as a promoted event that they can join. They'll be able to click on it and then again get that information, or go to bscout.org to show that they are interested in signing up for your recruitment, and you will then be able to contact them and let them know the details. So on top of that, our national office is also going to be doing some more general Facebook advertising for your event as well. And so putting in the similar parameters, they'll be driving traffic towards Be a Scout, in addition on Facebook, doing some additional advertising for you. The really important thing about Facebook when you're doing these kinds of promotions is getting your parents involved as part of the Facebook promotion. So while we can create it and we'll be advertising it out to the community, one of the first things that people are going to decide whether or not they want to attend your event is whether or not people they know are also attending the event. So having your parents in your pack say that they're going to be going to the event and marking themselves as attending and showing that there's a good group of attending and it's going to be the place to be online will help other families that they know decide that that is something for them. And so that's one of the ways that people are really going to decide that they want to join your event. The other way is they're going to probably Google, as soon as they see this Facebook ad, they're probably going to want to Google your unit. And so since we're driving a lot of traffic through Be a Scout, you're going to want to make sure you have your Be a Scout pin updated to the current contact information, unit location, dues, all those sorts of things. And we'll take a moment at the end of our presentation to kind of walk you quickly through that, in case you've never done that before. We're also going to be doing some additional promotions through Google AdWords through our national office. We do have a Google grant here for AdWords that we'll be working to help do some additional recruitment. And I know our council marketing committee is going to be doing some general recruitment efforts as well, kind of globally, to help drive traffic to your particular units, across counties or across the council. Some other ways that you want to consider getting your families involved in doing recruitment for your event is doing posts on Nextdoor. So those that aren't familiar with Nextdoor, it's more of a local community-based social networking site where you can just see you and your neighbors kind of have your own forum space where you can promote, talk about stuff that's going on, and so on. So Oftentimes you'll see things like where people are missing, cats and dogs and those kinds of things, but they also promote community events on there as well. And it's an interactive space where people can answer questions about the program, and they know it's in their neighborhood because the only people that can participate are the people right there. So getting your families to promote in Nextdoor is really important. We've got some templates and some sample language that they can use to get the conversation started to help drive traffic to your recruitment event that'll be available. The other thing that you want to consider is some of the other social media applications that are popular with this demographic, which are Instagram, our TikTok, possibly if you've got a lot of youth that are willing to participate, as well as Snapchat. Having families, whether it's for a Scouts BSA Troop or for your Cub Scout Pack, posting a story about how great scouting has been and encouraging people to come to your recruitment event will pay huge dividends for you. It really will give a huge parent testimonial to your program and will really help families feel comfortable participating. This is really important at that Scouts BSA level if you're doing a virtual recruitment event for that age group, because a lot of the kids that are at that particular level are only going to want to participate and sign up if they know some of the other kids that are participating. So getting your families involved is really key, especially with those older demographics. We do have some other resources for you at the BSA Marketing Tools and Brand Center. So all of these things to help you promote it, whether it's email templates, postcards, posters, social media images, videos, banners, all kinds of things that are available. There's also some additional recruitment templates for you to use as well on that site. So all kinds of resources that are customizable for you. You can just include your information and then download the tool fully filled out and ready to use. We'll also have some additional stuff on our council website as well for things like Nextdoor for you to use. We also have some great hard goods that you can use to promote your event. So we've got banners that can be hung on fences. We've got yard signs that you can use. You really want to do a lot of yard signs this year. We're in an election year, and so we've really got to fight for that prime retail space. So make sure that you use yard signs, again, because people are going to be really not mixing or being at community events and things like that. You really need to use some of these resources or these more visual resources, since we're not going to be able to be doing some of those in-person things. Speaking of those in-person community events, that's often a popular place that people will promote their unit. I think of our Scouts BSA troops that usually will work to try to recruit their Webelos, as well as try to do some of these community activities like the Santa Clara Art and Wine Festival or the Gilroy Garlic Festival. Since those events are probably not going to be happening this year, it's a great opportunity to really, instead of engaging at those events as you normally would, to think about engaging with your online local community network. So whether it's a PTA group that you have on Facebook, a parents group for your neighborhood, the Nextdoor, getting online and seeing and joining those groups and promoting within those and answering questions and engaging with the folks that are part of those groups can pay huge dividends. I know that a couple Cub Scout packs over in Scotts Valley did this 2 years ago, and they took the number of Cub Scouts from 30 kids in Scotts Valley to well over 100 in a single year, and 1 pack to 3 packs. So it's really, really useful tools. Also, you want to get your school involved in the process as well. Make sure that you're using the school website and newsletters. It's important to reach out to your local elementary school to understand what's allowable and what's not. Again, with kids maybe not being in person, the normal flyers we would send home to promote these things may not be available, but they may have Peach Jar. They may allow Peach Jar, and we at council here also provide resources for Peach Jar and will promote on behalf of your unit. So again, which helps to save your unit some of the expense of promoting on Peach Jar. And last but not least, feel free to think outside the box and be creative. This is, we've got a bunch of great tools and resources, but usually the stuff that works the best are those creative, fun things that units come up with to be creative that help them kind of go viral a little bit. So especially if you have some of these older age groups, whether it's venturing or Scouts BSA, feel free to get them involved and thinking about some creative ways to promote online. Fun TikTok videos and such if they are participating in those kinds of platforms. So with that, Jose is going to quickly talk through some of these just best practices that we have just overall for preparation.
All right, thank you, Bill. So now let's summarize some of the best practices for preparation, and let's begin with updating your unit's information and accepting online applications on bascout.org. As Bill mentioned, this is one of the tools, and it's going to be a great resource now more than ever when people are looking for units to join in their neighborhood. People are going to go online, so you want to make sure that your information for your unit is up to date with the latest information, and that people are easily able to apply online. So you'd want to change those settings and update all the information that's on there. Bill also talked about being visible, right? Using yard signs. So this year, you want to double or maybe even triple the amount of yard signs that you'll regularly use. So ask your school, your church, if you can put up yard signs with your unit's information to promote your recruitment. You can also put one in your front yard. Ask your neighbors and families in your unit if they are willing to do the same. Another best practice is to market to the communities that you serve. So if you have girls in your unit, you want to make sure that the flyers and the images that you're using for promoting your event also display girls participating in activities. If you are serving a community that speaks another language besides English, you'd also want to include information that is bilingual. So catering to the needs and the to the communities that you serve in your unit is very, very important. Another thing to use is using simple language that scouts can understand, especially for the younger scouts at the Cub Scout age level. You'd want to ask them to invite a friend instead of referring to peer-to-peer recruitment. You can also make it a fun contest for scouts that invite their friends, right? You can award them recruiter patches for those that bring their friends and sign up to register in the unit. Or you can offer a prize, to the scouts that invite the most friends, and etc. Another thing to consider is if you have vacancies in your parent committee, you'd want to update this list of open positions for the adults, and you want to have it ready the day of your recruitment. This is very important as you will be asking parents to volunteer and to help in different areas for your unit. So you want to make sure that you have the most updated information in regards to vacancies and some of the areas where some of the new parents could help. And last but not least, you'd want to ask your school for support during your recruitment. So find out if you can distribute flyers, if you can send out emails to families at the school, if you can put up posters or yard signs at the school to advertise your event. So once again, going back to the point and the importance of being visible, right? Right now, you want to make sure that your unit and your event is visible to the community so that more people, so that you can drive more people to your virtual recruitment the day of. Okay.
All right, thanks, Jose. So the last thing that you're going to want to do for preparation right before you get to actually conducting your virtual recruitment is you want to make sure that you practice at least once through. Many times some of these platforms that we're using, people may not be familiar with. So making sure that you at least walk it through ahead of time so that people know their parts, make sure that everything kind of works smoothly, will really make your presentation shine. So I do see a question in the chat. And so if you guys do have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll try to get to them as we go through. So the yard signs are going to be available through our council office. After we get through this presentation later next week, we're going to go ahead and send this presentation and some additional resources resources to you. One of those resources is a link to our recruiting support and marketing materials order form, which is a virtual form. You can fill that out and tell us what you would like from the selection of resources that we have available. We'll put together a package of stuff for you to pick up either from our council office, or we can give it to your district executive to do a drive by your house and drop it on your front porch, whatever works best for you. So that's where you'll get those yard signs, posters, and other things. So we'll share that with you guys after we get through the presentations this week, and we'll send it out to you next week. All right, so Jose, you want to give us some kind of general presentation tips?
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. All right, so the day of your virtual recruitment is here. Now it is your time to shine. So the day of your recruitment, you want to make sure that the presenter, the person that will be in the forefront, needs to be enthusiastic. He or she needs to be energetic and sociable. Enthusiasm will make it fun and welcoming for all the families, especially those that are not very familiar to scouting and to the program. And another thing to keep in mind is that it doesn't always have to be the committee chair or the Cub master that leads the recruitment. It can be a team effort. You can get other parents involved, you can get other committee members involved, and you can make it a fun recruitment that way. So the other thing you'd want to highlight is what makes your pack or your troop the best and or different from the other units in your community. So focus on activities, focus on the activities that you guys conduct throughout the year, and also talk about what the kids will get out of joining your particular unit. You also want to avoid acronyms and BSA lingo, right? At this point in time, it may be a little too early for parents to know what those acronyms mean, and they might not be able to follow along and understand what you're talking about. We know that you are very proud of your unit and of its history, but try not to spend too much time talking about its long history during the recruitment. Keep your presentation short, but cover the important information. You should try to keep it to a total of 20 to 30 minutes tops, and allow time for parents to be able to sign up and to ask questions. You'd also want to provide all the resources that parents will need to make an informed decision. You can include important links to your website, to bascout.org, maybe some additional council resources. And if you're using pre-registration, you'd want to send the links using the invitation manager that Bill talked about to all the families so that they can also sign up. You'd want to follow up with a calendar and with contact information for the leadership in your unit. And you'd want to cover the dues and what those dues provide. So what is covered with the unit, the pack or troop dues. All right, so let's, up next, let's talk about the recruitment agenda. So these are some of the important things that you'd want to cover. You'd want to have an introduction and have an overview. You want to talk about who you are, what is scouting, whether that may be Cub Scouts or what Scouts BSA is. You want to talk about the units, the things that you do at your unit level, how your unit is organized. You will cover common questions, and then at the end, you will ask parents to join. So let's go a little bit more into detail in regards to the structure of your recruitment. So during the overview, this is the time where you'd welcome all the families, right? So welcome to pack or troop 1 through 3. You'd also want to refer attendees, all the parents to join to the join link in the invitation and add the join link to the chat, as well as the QR code to your slide. You can add it to one particular slide, or you can have it be permanent in all the slides, so that if at any time parents are ready to sign up, they can easily just scan the QR code and go directly to the application and begin filling that out. You'd also want to talk about who you are as a unit. You can mention things like, most of our children go to this particular church or this particular school. You can go a little bit more into detail about the relationship with the school or the church. Maybe for the Scouts BSA program, some of the Eagle projects that they've done for those particular places. You'd also want to mention that all of the Scouters are parents and volunteers. You can highlight the importance of volunteering in the Scouting program. And you can mention things like that the fact that some of the parents have been and the families have been in the pack for many years. But there are also some new families that have recently joined. This will make it so that families feel a little bit more comfortable, with participating and being involved in this process. They won't feel like they are very limited in regards to the knowledge and to information in regards to the Scouting program. Up next, you'd want to talk about what Scouting is. And like I mentioned, this can be very specific to the Cub Scout Packs and also very specific to the Scouts BSA program. And the other thing that you can also do is you can talk to the families about what Scouting is. But Bill mentioned earlier some of the resources that the national office has put together for you guys to be able to use during these recruitments. So this is just a perfect example of one of those resources. And this is something that you can use during your virtual recruitment to talk about what Cub Scouting is. So let's take a look.
How long have you been in the Cub Scouts?
Probably like 30 years.
What is your most favorite part of being a Cub Scout?
Well, what I love most is camping, go on field trips, build a Highland derby. You get to make a tent with your dad, make new friends, and you get to get out and embrace nature.
Do you want to be in the Cub Scouts?
Yeah. Yes. There are other girls and they see the Cub Scouts doing things and they're like, I wish I could do that.
Do you think that there are things that boys can do that girls can't do?
No. Not really. People think, oh, girls don't want to do that. But actually, it's really fun for some girls. You get to go to parks, you get to watch a bike, you get to pet a bug.
Do you like petting bugs?
Not really, but it was new to pet one. Boys, they can climb a tree, so why can't girls climb trees? I think girls are gonna enjoy being in the Cub Scouts because I think it's fun for everybody, not just boys. Welcome to the Cub.
So that was a perfect example of some of the resources that you can use for your virtual recruitment. Now, I know that was specific to the Cub Scout program, but there are also resources for the Scouts BSA program. So here's a video that talks about what Scouts BSA is.
There's no one way to explore the world. My way is to push myself and never take the easy road.
I prefer a road that winds through forests and goes up mountains because I've always been an adventurer at heart. That's why I can't wait to be a scout.
Because scouting will guide me to great things. It won't just teach me to navigate the woods with confidence, but it'll give me the confidence to navigate the world.
I'll enter the Scouts as the best version of myself today and will grow into the best version of myself for my future.
Scouting will show me how to use bravery, trustworthiness, loyalty, and kindness to become a person I'm proud to be.
Because there's no one way to explore the world, and my way is in the Scouts. So
scout me in.
Great. So during your virtual recruitment, you just share what scouting is, right? And by the way, I do want to highlight that these videos, in addition to many, many more and other resources, are available free at no cost to you guys. So please check it out when you get a chance. Check out the links in the brand center, some of the resources the national office offers to you guys at no cost, because they are really great resources. So going back to your virtual recruitment, you just talked about what scouting is. Next, you can talk a little bit more in detail about the things that your pack or troop has done in the past year. So for example, you can talk about your dens and your patrols and when they meet, how they meet. You can go a little bit more into detail in regards to that. You can talk about some of the places that they've been to. Like if you guys have recently visited a fire station or went to the zoo, or for the Cub Scout program, or talk about the Eagle projects or volunteer and service work that your scouts and the Scouts BSA program have participated in. You can also talk about fall family campout opportunities, if this is something that your unit does regularly on a yearly basis. You can talk about what that is and how it involves the entire family and how the family can participate in scouting. Now we know we're going through this COVID-19 pandemic. You can talk about how you guys continue to meet virtually, how you guys are conducting those meetings, and if you guys participating in any kind of service work or any volunteer projects, you can talk about some of these things. And you guys might be a little familiar with some of the projects that Scouts have been participating in, things like creating and donating face masks to several hospitals, and also any other special projects and or activities. And one thing you'd also want to cover is your pack or your troop meeting, and define what that is and what happens at those meetings. All right, so let's up next, let's talk about the organization, right? So during your virtual recruitment, you'd want to talk about the organization of the unit. So you can cover things like the unit leadership. You can talk about who the Cub Master is, who the Scout Master is, and what is their role within the unit. You can also talk about the roles of the parents, right, and how they serve at the troop and or pack committee. Now, this is when you can talk a little bit more about the importance of parents volunteering and helping in various jobs within the unit. And you can also cover the breakouts for the Scout ages in the different programs. So for the Cub Scouts, you can see on the left side, there's a list of the different dens at the Cub Scout level. So you can talk about how the kids are separated by age to stay within their age group level. And you can mention why. So you can talk a little bit more in detail about the activities that they participate in and how they are age appropriate for all the kids in K through 5th grade. At the troop level, you can talk a little bit more about the patrol system. You can talk about why it's designed that way and how that allows scouts to be able to take a leadership role within their patrol and also at the unit level. All right, so once you cover this information, you talked about your unit, you talked about what scouting is, you talked about what makes you guys unique and different and all the different activities that you guys participate in. Then you're getting into the section for questions, right? So one of the things, one of the best practices is that before getting to the question section, you can answer some of those frequently asked questions, and you can do it. We have some suggested questions that we've always seen come up. at recruitments, and we've listed them here for you. So when do they meet, right? When are the den or patrol meetings? When are the pack or troop meetings? Things like campouts and other activities and events. You can also talk about your calendar, and you can share it with all the attendees to show all the great activities that you guys participate in. And you can also talk about some of the different events. So, difference between unit meetings and campouts and summer activities. And you can also talk about council-wide events, things like Scoutorama and summer camp, and those really cool activities that always seem to catch Scouts' attention. So when you talk about the meetings, talk about the leadership and who leads those meetings, right? So at the pack level, the Cub Masters lead the meetings. At the you can talk about the den meetings and talk about who the den leaders are. You can talk about the cost of scouting. So talk to them a little bit more about the pack or troop dues and how that's able to cover membership fees, in addition to many of the other resources and activities that your unit participates in. You can also talk about other additional resources or things that they will need, things like the handbook, a uniform, and whatever that may be for your unit, as well as other costs, things like fall and spring campouts, summer camp, outings, and other activities. Now, when you mention those things, this would be the perfect opportunity to highlight the opportunity of fundraising to cover some of the cost. We have very good units in our council that do a great job at fundraising for their unit. And in some cases, in many cases, actually, they're able to cover the entire cost of scouting for the families in their programs by participating in fundraisers like popcorn sales, as well as Scoutorama. And when you do that, make sure that you provide the contact information for the leadership and also answer any other additional questions that families might have. Back to you, Bill.
Great, thanks, Jose. So the last part of your recruitment event is where you're going to make the ask. So it's important that you do make an ask to join and let people know now is the time to sign up. So there's a couple ways that you can do that. The first is you can either share a link to your Be a Scout page or your application through online registration right in the chat, which makes it easy. We suggest that you probably do that instead of the QR code, because then they have to try to get their phone out and snap a picture of the screen where they can just click the link. The other way to do it as well is that if you used pre-registration for your recruitment event, you've already collected all of the necessary information you need to actually input that information into the BSA lead manager, and you can actually send them an invitation to join and send them an application from that system. So while the meeting's going on, you can stealthily send everybody a quick email with their own personal link that they can then go sign up with. From that point, you can then go on and approve any of the applications. Now, a key that we would suggest for you during this is that when you're making the volunteer ask at this time, you can also share a Google spreadsheet Google Sheet, a link to one that has a list of all those different opportunities that you're looking for, time requirements and things like that. So you should have talked a little bit about that during part of your recruitment presentation around the volunteers and that's required, but then you can provide a Google Sheet where people can actually sign up for those different parts. And if you have a policy where every family has to volunteer, which I hope that you do in some capacity, you can have a list of all those different ways that they volunteer, sort of a big list of little jobs that they can then sign up for. And then you can let them know as soon as that they go ahead and submit that application and sign up on the Google Sheet, you'll go ahead and approve the application, and then we'll get a notice that they're part of the unit. The nice part is that there's some of our online registration systems will help streamline some of those workflow processes for you, like sending a follow-up email and things like that. So you do want to make sure, again, that you make that ask specific. Now, with Cub Scouts, the parents are probably there ready to sign up already. And they just need to know how to sign up. Oftentimes they're coming in ready to join. Scouts BSA might be a little bit different because it's more of a conversation about what the kids are interested in, and they might not be sure. They may want to discuss it before they're able to sign up. So that's why it's nice to send them that email with a link to the application. If you're in Scouts BSA, because it allows you to say, hey, if you want to sign up now, that's great. If not, you want to talk about it, we'll follow up with you in a couple of days just to check in and see what you guys think. So it gives you that flexibility to then kind of follow up with them. And in case as soon as the meeting ends, they don't lose that link to sign up. So that's what some suggestions there as well. When you are sharing those open positions and jobs, make sure that you do provide a good job description for that, as well as what's expected of them. Really setting those expectations early and clearly will help people make a decision on what role fits for them best and make them feel confident that they'll be able to tackle it. So the question in the chat is, how do you do pre-registration with Zoom? So in the professional account, which we will allow, we do have several accounts at the council that we're going to be allowing units to use for their recruitment efforts in case you don't have that professional account. Though the professional account you can get for, I believe it's $14.95 per month. So it's not all that expensive to get. But it's one of the features within Zoom that when you schedule the meeting, in the options you can required to do pre-registration for the event. And so if you do need help with that, feel free to work with your district executive. They can kind of help walk you through that process if you haven't done it before. There's also some great training videos that Zoom has produced as well that can show you where that feature is. And yes, there is a waiting room feature as well, and you can do both. You can have both enabled. So Zoom does have that waiting room feature. All right, Jose, can you take us through some of those best practices?
Absolutely. All right, so let's summarize some of the best practices for your recruitment. So remember, you only get one chance to make a first impression, so you want to be enthusiastic. You want to convey the message that scouting is fun, and it should really show that during your presentation. You also want to highlight what separates your unit from other units, what makes it fun, what makes it unique, and why families should join your particular unit. Now, I know that many different units have several different traditions. Some of them are to go to really cool camps or to go to really, far away places, maybe some out of state activities and those kind of things. If you guys participate in any of that, you definitely want to talk about those opportunities. Now, you want to make sure that your presentation is short and simple, right? Don't go too much into its history and some of the details about scouting and all those things. Remember that these are, in many cases, these families are all new to scouting, and so just keeping it short and simple will definitely go a long way. Another thing to keep in mind is to keep the scouting lingo to a minimum. Eventually all the families, everyone in the unit will learn it. They'll learn all the different acronyms, but you don't want to overwhelm them during the introduction to the program. And also, don't reinvent the wheel. Remember that BSA has put together some really cool videos and many other marketing tools and resources that are free at no cost to you guys. Remember that parents, most parents in attendance are there to sign up, so don't oversell the program, don't oversell your unit, but do make the ask. Ask parents to sign up and to sign up at that event. So remember, provide the link so that parents can fill out the application, or provide the QR code so that they can scan it with their phones and start filling out the application. And ask parents to volunteer for a position, right? Scouting is definitely a collective effort. And the more people, the more families, the more leaders that are involved at the unit level, the more fun that everyone will have and that, you know, the kids will get out of the program. So make sure that you highlight that. All right, back to you, Bill.
Great. So our last piece of this is going to be follow-up. It's going to be really, really important that we follow up in this digital environment. It's going to be probably as important as the preparation part. It's going to really help us retain all those scouts that we worked so hard to get to the recruitment event, and again, make them feel connected to our scouting programs. So some of the ways that we are going to do that is first, make sure that you follow up with all of them almost immediately after the presentation within the next day or two to send them all the information that you talked about. So if you have some of the calendar printouts, you know, send them all those digital resources, contact information, you know, meeting times, locations, all those sorts of things. Make sure that if they have any questions, they know who they can contact and who their point of contact is going to be, and have that point of contact reach out to them as well. So if their point of contact moving forward is going to be their den leader, make sure that the den leader reaches out to them almost immediately after the event. So if you do have some families that don't sign up that night, and you don't see those applications coming through, if you use the pre-registration or the lead manager, it does give you their email and contact information. So you can follow up with them one-on-one to answer any questions or concerns they still have, provide them with any additional information that they need. Again, provide them that sign-up link so that they can sign up if they change their minds. You know, also, if you use that lead manager and there's some, you know, an issue that's, it's not like they can't meet your meeting date or time, or the location just isn't good for them, you can actually assign that lead up to the district, and then we can reassign it to another unit that might be able to reach out to them to have them join scouting. So another benefit of using that lead manager. And also, what's really important, right now we're kind of in a hybrid situation where small group activities are being allowed in most of our counties. So groups of 12 or less scouts are allowed to do meetings. And so den meetings can probably happen in person. I don't know, that may change this fall, but as of today, den meetings can happen in person as long as they follow some of those social distancing and other county guidance. But the larger pack meetings probably are still going to have to be done virtually because they're still not allowed. So if you're going to be doing this recruitment, try to schedule that fun den meeting, that in-person event that you're going to do, or if you're going to be doing a virtual pack meeting, to make it really, really fun and engaging and exciting, and try to do that within a week of your recruitment event. You know, we don't want to do one of those kind of hurry up and waits where we get people to sign up and then they just sit there and don't actually get involved in the program. Another thing you can do as well is use Scout Book for both the troop and for the pack. I think it's especially important at a troop level where they can then get engaged right in the program and start working on requirements and get signed off by their leaders and approved and engaged in the program and be able to accomplish all of those tasks and all those requirements that really make scouting thrive and fun and get started earning that first rank. So if you don't use Scout Book, highly recommend that you guys do because at the troop level, we do a lot of web merit badge web merit badge sessions that are led by our counselors from our districts and from our council level that they can participate in for either free or or a small cost, which again gives them opportunity to get involved in the program, start learning something and participating. So feel free to, and all that's done through Scout Book, and they actually get that approved through that. So it helps to keep them connected. Also saves your some of your leaders, your advancement chair, some input time as well, because it all connects right to our databases here at the council office and the national office. So we have a bunch of resources for you. And again, we're going to send this presentation out so that you can just click on these links, and we'll have some of these available to you, as well as we're going to be posting a Scouter Weekly in the coming weeks, and again follow up with you with some of these great resources. So some things that we have available for you is information about online registration for unit leaders. I'll show you some quick things at the end of this meeting for those that want to stick around, because I know we are getting close to the end of our time. We also will do online registration guidebook for bscouts.org. All that stuff is available. They've got handy video walkthroughs for all the different components of it in case you just want to try to figure it out on your own. It's not all that difficult. We also have all those great marketing tools and Scouts BSA resources. The BSA Brand Center is available as well with all these different resources. And our council and district and commissioner support as well. So you are definitely not alone in this. You've got a team of volunteers and professionals here to help guide you through this entire process, to make it easy, to help kind of guide you along. So don't feel like you have to try to memorize everything in this. Just start working through some of the things, fill out that materials request so that we know when your recruitment is, and we'll start working with you to help plan and promote that event. So you have those resources available to you as well. We're also going to be putting together a couple of guides here at the council level that highlight all this information, walkthroughs to help you kind of be as a reference guide as you go through this process. So with that, what questions do you have for Jose and I? You can go ahead and if you want to unmute as well, you can feel to answer them as well.